Welcome to Native Calgarian and Mossy for listening. I'm your host, Michelle Robinson, speaking to you in Mohkinstsis in the Blackfoot Confederacy, home of the Niitsitapi, Tsuut'ina Dene, and the Yiharhi Nakota. I talk about history, current news, unheard news, book clubs, with special guests to give local or national issues a voice through an urban Saatu Dene lens. My life's work will be to honor the voices of my ancestors and next generation with humor, love, and truth. Reconciliation is work, not performance. May we honor all Indigenous voices with that courage. Today is February 14th, 2026. Welcome to Native Calgarian. If you enjoy hearing Indigenous content by this Saatu Dene ADHD woman, my Patreon account is Native Calgarian, where you can pledge and support. Thank you, previous donors, for already showing your support. For those who cannot afford to give, I'd love to hear from you at nativeyyc@gmail.com, where you can send in your comments or questions. Also, giving a review helps, no matter which medium you are listening from. I have a YouTube channel that you can go and subscribe. You can go to nativecalgarian.com for the latest podcasts and pin posts on social media. And always remember to share the things that you learn to your network. Oki, naganago, mekoche chestakom aki, nara daga de dekots nagotine siku saradi. My name is Red Thunder Woman. My married English name is Michelle Robinson, and I use they, them pronouns. My Dene lineage roots me in the land of the Great Bear Lake Tribe in Treaty 11 in Delaney. I'm a native to Turtle Island, and my Dene nation is uninvited to this area of Clincho Tine Indahe and Saatu Dene, meaning Many Big Dog Town, named after the Calgary Stampede. I was born in Calgary, or in Blackfoot, Mohkinstsis, as Michelle Elliott, an English name that has afforded me privilege in an English colonial world. Acknowledging proximity to whiteness is important because in a colonial system, the more racism you experience in colonial spaces. My late great-grandmother, or my late great-grandfather is Milo Bewol from Delaney. His daughter Alice is my now late granny. My mom and I are Northern Slavey Dene or Saatu Dene, but my Indian Act and Post status card says Yellowknives Dene First Nation. Through my father, I am a daughter of the Mayflower and a daughter of the American Revolution. Having a Canadian Indian Act and Post status card is a colonial construct by Canadian policies meant to divide Indigenous peoples' inherent rights. Indigenous Two-Spirit, or the Indigenous 2S LGBTQ plus community, and Indigenous women are at the bottom of the Canadian socio-economic ladder because of colonial trauma, imposed poverty, racism, gendered violence, and land theft. I am not a social worker nor an elder, nor do I speak on behalf of all Indigenous peoples, but I share my journey as a Dene mom navigating this colonial, misogynistic, ableist, racist world in 2026. Land Back is a movement that could save the planet from climate change created by colonialism. But it would also be part of a treaty partnership, meaningful reconciliation, and honoring global initiatives like the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. As a former drafter, I would love to teach you more. Go to nativecalgarian.com for more. I think of all of this today, and I hope we honor the many Indigenous lives lost for this British Westminster colonial system named Canada. I hope everyone sees their role in the importance of stopping harm, and as a citizen, see your role in reconciliation and as a treaty partner. Today, I would love to welcome my guest. Would you like to introduce yourself in your way?
Sure. Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you, Michelle, and the Native Calgary podcast for inviting me. I think it's wonderful. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm excited. So thank you so much. My name is Claudia Peralta. I do a lot of work, humanitarian work, solidarity work in our community. One of them is I'm a volunteer at the CCFA Calgary, which is a Canadian-Cuban Friendship Association. And so what we do, we bring the two countries together, and we support Cuba in social and cultural events, and we try to promote the friendship between the two countries.
I love that. Thank you. I'm glad to be here today out of all days because I think there's a really important humanitarian crisis that needs to be talked about. And I think the average Calgarian layperson probably doesn't understand the situation. I feel a little more blessed because I've been decolonizing. So when you understand colonialism, you understand what's happening by the U.S. in Cuba right now. So I'd love for you to talk about it from your lens, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, Cuba is a little island in the Caribbean. It's a beautiful country. It has about between 10, 11 million people. Cuba has always been considered an island of solidarity. They've done a lot of work around the world. They provide a lot of solidarity work with other countries, or work, especially third world countries, by sending medical doctors. I have a number, they've sent around, almost 400,000 doctors in the last 50 years, all over the world, to third world countries. They've also have an operation, it's called the Operation Miracle, that it was an initiative from the Cuba and Venezuelan countries. And what they do, they've gone to third world countries in the poorest areas, and they do surgeries, eye surgeries for people that can't afford to get them done, and they would be, they're totally free. And so they've done about 4 million of these operations throughout the year since 2004. I think it was the year that was created, 2004. Yeah, 2004. So it's a country that's done a lot. The other things that they actually have to, it's a medical school in Cuba. It's called ILAM. ILAM stands for the Latin America Medical School. They have thousands of students from all over the world, especially third world countries, and they provide them with education. And we have even Palestinians right now. There's about 100 Palestinians getting their education to become doctors, and it's totally free. The only condition that Cuba asks of them is that once they graduate, they go back to their country and they go and serve the communities that really need this type of service. So, how can you not defend a country like that? I've been traveling to Cuba since I was really young. I heard about Cuba through my parents, through my grandfather. And so I finally, when I was young and making a little bit of money, waitressing actually, so I saved up all my money and I went to Cuba, and I wanted to know what was all this about. That's all I ever heard about. It was Cuba and Fidel and the revolution and Che and all this. So I went to Cuba and I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I just fell in love with the people, the community, how they treat each other, even though they've always have really harsh, they had a really hard life. I mean, for the last 65 years, there's a blockade against this little island. And when we talk about blockade, it's a commercial economic blockade against the island imposed by the United States. What does that mean? That means that this little island cannot import, they cannot export. So that means that medical supplies, the food, repairs for their electrical grid, everything has been so hard for them. And so we stand with the Cuban people. I mean, they've done so much for the world, and I think it was time for us to stand up, and that's why I'm here today. And of course, this last what do you call it? Trump called it the executive order. It was implemented this past month, January the 29th, where it declared Cuba as a national security. So a threat a threat to the United States. Like,
Yeah. This is all Marco Rubio's doing. He's
yeah,
such a piece of work. Although you can swear on our podcast.
I know he's pushing this so hard, and Rubio, he's not even a Cuban. Like his parents were born in Cuba, and they left Cuba before the revolution. So it wasn't even after the revolution. So, but he probably has a lot of support from the anti-Cubans that live especially in the Miami area. And they put millions of dollars, like millions of dollars in social media and communication, on TV, on the radio, and just to promote the sanctions that are going on, invasion to the island, and so yeah, it's scary. Like
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends in Cuba throughout the years. I mean, I've been traveling to Cuba for the last over 30 years. So obviously, I have a lot of friends, more than friends, I have family there that have been affected by the sanctions throughout the years. I have friends that have been ill. They can't get operated because of the lack of resources. And of course, hospitals too, without electricity, they can't do the essential operations because of this, and so with the last sanction that Trump put in place now on January 29th, what does that mean? What is the sanction that he put through? Well, he now is imposing tariffs to any goods coming into the U.S. from countries that send oil to Cuba. That is the main one. So what does that mean for Cuba? I mean, we all know that every country needs oil, to provide electricity and to provide like transportation, schools, hospital, food. I mean, when I go to Cuba about 2 or 3 times a year, and when I go to Cuba, I just live like a Cuban. So there's no electricity. You can go without electricity up to 8, 10, 12 hours. And a lot of things here we take for granted.
Hmm.
But for those simple things, like you can buy lots of food because it goes bad in the fridge. And now, and for cooking too, like you don't know when you're going to get electricity. Sometimes it might come at 1, 2 in the morning. So people wake up at that time to quickly cook, to be able to feed the family. Um, so yeah, it's really hard, especially now with, I'm not sure if you're aware of what happened with Venezuela, which it was illegal,
Yeah.
first what they did. And so we know that Venezuela provides oil to Cuba. And there's one of the first country, Cuba and Venezuela has had a tight relationship for many, many years. And so by attacking Venezuela, of course, they knew that that was going to affect Cuba.
Yeah.
Uh, and so now Cuba is left without oil. And now with the sanctions, now he's doing these terrorists against countries that want to send oil to Cuba. So it's hard. It's hard to hear. I'm in touch with Cubans every day, with family and with friends every day. And but you know what? The Cubans are they're just one of a kind. They always find a solution. They always, they'll figure it out. They try to help each other. They try to work as a community so they can pull through this, because it's hard. It's hard for them.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. So, just to make it really clear to anybody listening, the invasion of Venezuela, obviously incredibly illegal. The entire world has called them out on that. And that is the supplier of oil for Cuba. They have a very long-standing relationship beyond just oil as well. And Yeah, so now we have these effects as a result, and I'm afraid we're getting set up now for the Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0, because only Russia will be the ones that will go there and give them some supplies, but I'm sure it'll come with strings attached. It's a very different Russia today than it was of that time. So, and honestly, like I don't really understand why they continue to work with the US. Like they clearly have all the Epstein files and everything against Trump. There's no reason for them to work with the US at all. So obviously it's all about money somewhere that I don't understand. And you know,
Please.
and what's unfortunate is we have what, 11 million people now that are going to be having basically a famine,
Yeah,
basically genocide. This is deplorable, beyond disgusting. I can't even. And all because Marco Rubio has this like personal vendetta. I cannot imagine being in a position where you could hurt 11 million people and choose to hurt them. I can't imagine that.
yeah, and it goes against international law by depriving people of food, depriving them of the basic needs of a human right. It's a genocide.
Yep.
It is. And we are so. I'm say I we as because I consider my. I mean, sometimes I'm almost Cuban. But Cuba has a lot of friends around the world just because Cuba has done so much, and it's incredible the amount of support that they're getting right now, which is it's overwhelming, and I'm very happy for that. Um, you know, with Canada, Canada and Cuba has had diplomatic relation for like how many years? 80 years, I think. And through the years, Canadians have been traveling to Cuba. Um, Canadians have always been the number one tourism in Cuba. What does that mean? That's income, to Cuba. And so now, aside from this, the 29th declaration from Trump, the Canadian Airlines from one day to the next, they just put out there that they're canceling all flights to Cuba because of the
Shortage.
fuel prices and the shortage. Um,
It's terrible.
but I don't even know what to say because and it's only the Canadian Airlines. All other airlines are already trying to figure it out. A lot of the countries that fly into Cuba are now saying they're going to stop in other countries to refuel, and then they go on to Cuba. So they're finding ways to go to Cuba. And I don't understand why the Canadian Airlines decided not to do that. They just stopped all airlines, the Canadian Airlines, Air Canada, Transat, WestJet, Sunwing, all of them, one after the other, all canceled, all canceled, all canceled. And so that's a huge impact on the Cuban economy, which is, it's really sad. And also, through the years, Canadians and Cubans it's not just a diplomatic relationship, it's a human relationship, it's friends to friends. So throughout the years, Canadians have become friends with Cubans. They have families there. A lot of Canadians have married Cubans, and some of them even have children, have their in-laws, have grandparents in Cuba. So they're separating families by doing this. But I was already reading some of the posts, some of the traveling Facebook pages that Canadians will find a way to go. There've already been people saying that they're going to go through Mexico, they're going to go through the Dominican Republic, whatever it takes. Even there's even the United States Airlines are still going to Cuba. So I don't
Yeah.
know what the issue is. And, they could have found a way to continue to fly to Cuba. So it's hard. It's hard. So that's why right now there's a nationwide petition to ask the Canadian government to step up, you know, to
Yep.
step up and uh, defend Cuba against this horrible aggression from the United States. They don't deserve that. They don't.
No. There's a petition that you and I talked about. I had shared it about 4 days ago. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the petition, we want to collect 10,000 signatures. This is a petition going to the Parliament so that to demand Canada stand up against the United States and the Trump administration. We can send the link to that. This is kind of the pamphlet that we are, you know,
Nice.
um,
Well, if you send that to me, I will add it to the show notes. But I have already shared the petition. It's been in my link tree, and
that's
obviously promote that everywhere. Just give you a little history of me and my husband. So this would have been back when my daughter was first born in 2007. My husband worked for Sherritt, and Sherritt is an oil company here in Calgary that works with Cuba. And he went to Cuba like 3 or 4 times as a result. And, that was, I never end up going. I did want to go, but we just had a little baby. And at the time, like she's now 18, so she's not so little, but it gives you an idea of how long ago it was we had ties there. And that was when we really unlearned what we were told about Cuba and learned what the truth about Cuba was. And I got to know some of the folks that do a lot of the work that you're doing right now. And that was when, that was just something we knew in solidarity. If we were to ever take another trip for funsies, it would be Cuba. But we've never done it as since. So only when he worked at Sherritt did we do that. And actually, it was funny. One of the last times he went to Cuba, there was a shuttle leaving Florida, and he was like bypassing the U.S. altogether, but he watched the last shuttle go up and on his way over to Cuba, just by chance. It was just the craziest coincidence. So, yeah, just that's our tie to Cuba, and we obviously are heartbroken what's happening there right now, and so worried about the Cubans that are there. And I just want to like agree with everything you have said and let everybody know like this is Cuba. They train people for free with the assumption you will go back. So like if you're a First Nation stuck in the middle of nowhere and you need a nurse, if you go to Cuba, they will train you to be a nurse and they will expect you to go back to your reserve and expect you to take care of your people. Like
yeah.
that's Cuba. And that's
Yeah,
why, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
and I actually I would like to mention something else too. In 2020, actually, I don't know if you know, but in 2020, Manitoba First Nations, led by the Southern Chief Organization, the Grand Chief Jerry Daniels, they went to Cuba because there was a crisis here in Canada through during COVID that they didn't have enough doctors, on the reserves. So it was not even on TV and Cuba TV. They met with Cuban authorities, with the health authority, and explained, what they wanted to do. Maybe we can bring some doctors, Cuban doctors, to help them on their reserves. And of course, Cuba said, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Doctors are ready to go anytime you want.
Yeah.
And of course, that at that time, I think it was Freeland, the one that was, she was the Minister of Exterior Relations. And of course, they said, absolutely not. We don't need doctors here, and it would have been, yeah. So that's the
I
time.
remember. And honestly, this is the type of thing that matters. Like, so for people who have this like, glamorous idea of what Canada is, it's not what you think it is, because we are in the middle of a genocide. The Indigenous people are in the middle of a genocide, and Canadians are a-okay with it because they love imperialism. They love the RCMP. They love the police killing Indigenous people. Like, that's a part of Canadians' fabric. So that's why when you start to unlearn about what imperialism really is, colonialism, you see why it is Cuba and the indigenous people here would have so much more in common than the, Canadian government, because they're an imperial government. They're Westminster extension of British imperialism. And I don't know why Canadians can't connect that. I mean, I know why. They do it on purpose, keep them ignorant on purpose, so that way they feel good every single day oppressing Indigenous people. So that's why when Cuba was willing to do that, I was like, right on. And I was so proud of Chief Daniels for his work, because this is important work that needs to be done. And it's not a coincidence that every Canadian institution is stupidly expensive and racist as, you know, as it can possibly be. So Indigenous people really struggle being in those circles. Even myself, like I've had so much harm by some of the U of C professors, and it's a nightmare. And our kids, like, I get messages all the time from students and from parents who are telling me the type of racism they experience. Jesus, from K all the way through university, like it's racist here and terrible to our people. So, they keep a boot on your neck under the Indian Act. They keep a boot on your neck with just imperial racism that everybody's like, what racism? And then, the cycle continues.
Yeah.
So I've had other Indigenous leaders say Ireland has free university healthcare, or free university as well. So if you wanted to be a healthcare provider or whichever, that would be a good alternative. But we're talking about Cuba today, and I just hope that whoever our listeners are, it kind of demystifies this. Cuba is such a bad place. It's not. It's the opposite,
Yes.
actually. That they've always struggled, and they struggled because of the U.S. and their imperialism.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that's why I'm here to talk about all this, because in the media and the news, you hear a lot about, oh, there's don't oh and that and on top of the airlines, and then the government actually issue an advisory for Canadians not to travel to Cuba, uh, because of the lack of fuel, the lack of food, the lack of water, and so on and so on.
Well, and arguably a possible military invasion that's about to happen, combined with Russia. And I'm sure everybody had seen there was a fire at one of the oil
Yeah,
refineries in
yeah,
Cuba, and we all know who did that. I know who did that. I don't need anybody to tell me. I know it was the US. Like, no question who did that. So CIA, I'm sure, are on the boots are on the ground right now, causing chaos in Cuba. And the Americans are a-okay with it because they've always been okay with imperialism. So,
yeah. And yeah, because Cuba, a little island of 11 million people, Cuba is a country that has shown the world that a better world is possible, that another system is possible, another government is possible to do better for the human rights. And that's why the United States government has always been, so into Cuba, into the regime change. And they always have said that it's a failed state in Cuba, and that's what a lot of people think and say, because there's so much lack. But they don't talk about why. What's the reasoning behind this? Why is there a lack? Well, I mean, there's 65 years of sanctions, like really bad sanctions. I mean, and so, and regardless, and that's the beautiful thing about this country that I love so much, is that regardless of these sanctions that they've been suffering for over 65 years, they've always had solidarity. They've always been able to help other countries with what little thing that they have.
Yeah.
They're always able, they're always willing to help other countries. Um, through COVID, that was hard times in Cuba. I mean, they shut down, that was a worldwide, though. It shut down tourism, so there was no income. And so that really pushed Cuba to its limit. But regardless of all that suffering, Cuba was able to come up with five COVID vaccines for their people,
Yeah.
because all the rich countries, they, as soon as there was vaccine, everybody got them. What about the poor people? What about the poor countries? I remember with us here, Cuba had the 5 vaccine, but they didn't have any syringes, needles. So again, the solidarity, thank God there was this solidarity around the world with Cuba, and try to send as much syringes. I believe here in Canada, there was, I think, like 10 million syringes that were sent to Cuba, so they could be able, so the people could get their vaccine. But can you imagine like a little island like that to have their own vaccine? I mean, that was, for me, that was just amazing. I mean, Canada wasn't even able to create their own vaccine, and so in Cuba, their priority has always been their people, always their people. And the Americans, the U.S. government, what they want is they want the people to go hungry, to get sick, and to go on the streets, and to demand the government to step down, and that's when they come in, right? They come in. And but I'm hoping, I still have faith that countries are going to step up. I know that China has done a lot of solidarity work with Cuba. They've been helping them with the solar system, with their solar plants, so that they don't rely on oil for their electricity. So that's what they're doing right now. And same with Mexico. I don't know if you've heard in the news, but there's already been 2 shipments of humanitarian aid from Mexico,
Wow, that's
regardless of
great.
the U.S. Threats against Mexico, because, according to Trump, Mexico is a threat to their security too.
Yes,
And
because smart, intelligent women in charge of a country like that is a threat to that mother.
yeah,
He
yeah,
honestly, I don't know why he hasn't been arrested. I don't know why he's not in a jail right now.
right,
Just over the Epstein files.
yeah,
Just that alone, let alone how he's been able to do the things he's done in the last little while. And I don't know. It's deplorable.
it is
I just
crazy.
cannot believe that he is still allowed to proceed. And same with Marco Rubio and Christy Nome, all of these folks. Like I just can't understand how the international global majority haven't said we're shutting this down. This is crazy.
Yeah, and then, that shows, what the United Nations does. I don't even know what they're there for.
It's like they're
Um,
pro-imperialism, always have been, giving Israel any sort of, place at the table. It's just it's imperialism. It's a United Nations imperialism like body, and it has nothing to, you know, enforce anything. I'll never forget. I've listened to Romeo Dallaire on numerous occasions, and I've read his books, and even the peacekeeping, like I respect people doing it, but it's still upholding imperialism is what the peacekeepers do. So, they get all this trauma, they get no support, and what are they doing? They're just upholding imperialism. So,
yeah, and the United Nations. I mean, every year, for those people that don't, because a lot of people too in the Cuban community, especially in Miami, A lot of them say that there is no such thing as the blockade. I mean, how ignorant can you be? I mean, every single year in the United Nations, there's votes
Yeah,
every single year. So if there was no blockade, why are we going to vote every single year in the United Nations? And the majority of the countries, the majority of the countries, agree. This needs to stop. The
I
blockade needs to stop. And then who is the other ones that oppose? Is United States and Israel. There's like two countries for sure that always say, no. And
yeah.
then we go back to, again.
Square one. I know, and I'm not going to say much more of Alberta being ignorant because they're so beyond pathetic when it comes to the separation conversation and falling for, being simps for these bots that are bought and paid for by Russia and the US and Israel. And I have no respect for the lack of education on this. And then to learn more about Cuba, like even me, I was like, we were told the opposite of everything about Cuba, and had to unlearn that and relearn who Cuba really was and go from there. So I'm grateful that you were here to talk about it because I hope that people understand the gravity of what's happening. And of course, my people in Miami are going to be like, what blockade? Because they're just as dumb and, given all the K to 12s that obviously Albertans are. So they have
Yeah,
no idea.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so hopefully, things like this podcast, we certainly appreciate to get the word out. And let's keep moving forward. Keep supporting Cuba.
Yes.
Go to Cuba. I mean, I was supposed to go to Cuba on the 25th of April. Of course, my flight got canceled, but I went and we booked another flight. Like I'm going. Like
Yeah.
like that's not going to stop me.
Well, it's like you said, we'll figure out a way. Does that mean going to Mexico and then going
Yeah,
from Mexico there? Who knows? But, at the end of the day, we have to support Cuba the best we can. So, um, obviously, we'll be promoting your organization here. We'll be promoting that petition. And I need to know, did you watch Super Bowl? Not the whole thing, just a specific 15 minutes of the
oh yeah,
halftime
of
show.
course. Of course, I saw that. I thought that was great.
Wonderful.
But funny, yeah, it was wonderful. It shows what Latin America and what we represent. Unity is it's very very important. Unity is what's going to get us through this.
Yes.
And
Indigenous solidarity, 100%.
so
Um, Go ahead.
America, United States, America is all of us. You know.
100%. Tonight we have the Valentine's Day March, and it's open to everybody. Basically, the missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two Spirit. They're the ones most attacked by the imperialist Canadian, folks, and we have to honor them. We have to honor them on Valentine's Day. The next one will be May 5th on Red Dress Day. And then we do October 4th, Sisters in Spirit vigils. And so, yeah, it's open to the public. I'd love to see you there tonight. And just know I'm in total solidarity with everything that you'll give me. If there's a new fundraiser or something, I will share it on all my socials and we'll go from there.
So much. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I thank you. And yeah, let's unite. We have to unite and unite and support each other because we're all in this together.
We are. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you. Oh, I'm so grateful that she came today to talk about these things because I don't think people understand the gravity of them. We have a short little window for the Recall Peter Singh petition. If you have a UCP MLA in your area, please, please, please sign your petition. I also did my Skip the Bottles or Skip the Depot. It's like the bottle drive. I gave that to my area. So if you don't have a lot to give, at least you can give bottles to your local recall petition folks. And we just got the green light for the water not coal petition, so I'm just waiting for my papers to come in. I'm already sharing Corb Lund's events that they're having. They're going to have one next Saturday, so the 21st in Calgary. The problem is I'm not going to be at that one. I have to be in Regina, so I'll be there. But that we're going to be sharing that information. If you are local to me and you want to sign that petition, just contact me. I will happily meet up for coffee and get you to sign it. And if you can bring a few other friends so that, a lot of people are signing it, I'd love that. Just a reminder, my friend Walter White Bear McDonald, he had an aneurysm. So I have his GoFundMe in my link tree. I would love for you, if you can't donate, just to share it. I would appreciate that. And of course, I run a book club, and our next book club is David Robertson's book on anxiety and the little monster of anxiety. So, love for you to join us for that as well. And if you are local to Calgary and you want to do more, join the Reconciliation Action Group. We have a whole group here that, we're trying to hold all the institutions to more account when it comes to, their anti-Indigenous racism and their lack of like meaningful action on reconciliation. So we'd love for you to come and join us. Masito to my ancestors, to my granny, to my mom, what strength looks like through your example. I want to thank my dad for teaching me to be strong and blunt, my stepmom for showing me her proud Austrian culture and teaching me to be a proud Calgarian. My husband, Darcy, he is not just the producer and editor of this show, he also produces another podcast helping folks in their recovery journey, talking about that. And he's my husband, my childhood friend, father of our child, support of my journey down the red road. He has witnessed decades of racism and sexism. To our child, we are blessed to learn from you. We are honored you chose us. You give me daily accountability to be a better and stronger person. I hope my daughter, my family will be proud of us in the future, trying to discuss these issues today. I honor the Blackfoot as the elders and members have been so kind to me on my Red Road journey. Elder Red Crane taught me how to pronounce my spirit name in Blackfoot, and Leonard Kenny taught me how to pronounce it in Satu. My humblest apologies to all the language keepers as I try to learn proper pronunciation. My Patreon account is Native Calgarian, where you can pledge and support. Thank you, previous donors, for showing your support. If you cannot afford to give, that's fine. I'd love to hear from you at nativeyyc@gmail.com, where you can send in your comments or your questions. I also have a YouTube channel that you can go and subscribe. Go to nativecalgarian.com for the latest podcasts and pin posts on social media. I talk a lot about a lot of dark things, and I would like to talk about a million more, but I just wanted to tell you the silliest thing on the planet, and that's that on TikTok, there's drama. And I was watching the drama of this female goalie who is she's a nerd. I don't care what anybody says. She's just a nerd who loves her hockey equipment. And anyway, Bauer totally was a jerk to her. And now I'm watching all of these new hockey equipment places like CCM, Warrior Hockey, all of these places give her all of this free stuff now because Bauer was such a jerk to them. And I have to bring it up because I've seen that they are a part of the Olympics as well. And they're just such jerks. And I'm so glad they're getting bad press for once. And I'm so glad Pavi, the goalie, gets to get a whole bunch of brand new stuff, a ton of new followers, and much respect from the hockey world because this misogyny has to end. This misogyny is ridiculous, and girls should be able to play sports with support and not condescending, misogynistic jerks like Bauer Hockey. So, with that, I will say I always give side eye to those Calgary Rabbits. You're lucky I'm not your dish. And my beautiful cousin would respond, or you'd be in my dish. Thanks, folks, for listening.